haven't looked at trash in a while, especially trash this old. We're talking trash that doesn't even run properly on modern hardware, and I'll get to that. This is trash that I didn't even find myself. I was threatened with this pile of trash for at least 5 years. Let's talk about trash. I mean, Jurassic Park 3 Danger Zone. Whew, boy, where do I start with this one? To begin, this game was never on my radar until one of my best friends brought it up about 5 years ago, or what feels like that. I don't know what we were discussing, but I think it had something to do with bad video games prompting my friend to cast an allusion towards this mound of filth. I don't remember if he remembered the name of the game at that point in time, which I will call the initial incident, but I do know that around 6 months to about a year after that conversation, he was able to track down the name of the game. Jurassic Park 3 Danger Zone. I, having some form of lore with licensed video games, figured it was the platformer Dino Defender, but he opened my eyes, informed me that DD was the sequel to Danger Zone. As if witnessing the fall of Kavzar firsthand, I was mortified, struggling to remain sane upon hearing such eldritch heresy. It was then that the threat had been issued. If he could find a way to get the game running on modern hardware and corner me in a room with the working copy, I would have to play it. For the next 3 years, this looming horror dangled over my head, the only barriers between it and me being how hard it was for my friend to find a copy without turning his computer into the River Somme and distance. I can't recall when the first barrier was broken, but for the sake of dramatic effect, I will say 2020, a workable copy, just one of the many repugnant abominations wrought upon the world in that year. Distance soon became short as well, what with his wedding planned for 2021. So there I was, before the day, sitting in his apartment alone with nary a lifeline to protect me from my captor, his instrument of torture being this foul blight dredged up from the internet sea. To this day, I forever bear the marks of Danger Zone. My psyche will never be the same again, it torn up by hellacious claws and ferine teeth. In short, the game fucking sucked. You might not think that there's much history for Danger Zone, and you'd be right. The only tangible evidence I could find out about the game was that it was co-developed alongside Dino Defender, as both games used the same assets, and that the developer was Knowledge Adventure. And that's where the rabbit hole begins. See, Knowledge Adventure was founded in 1991, but our story begins earlier in 1982 with the creation of Davidson and Associates, and 1973 with CompuCard International Incorporated. For the older people in the peanut gallery, hearing comp, no, not the song, should bring back memories, as while CompuCard started off as a telephone-based shopping service, they branched into the digital age with CompuServe. While their acquisition of The Source, one of the original online services, was solely because founders Kirk Shelton and Walter Forbes, no relation, wanted to push their proto-Amazon idea to more people, CUC has its footnote in internet history alongside AT&T and American Online as being the foundation for what we know the internet for. Granted, CUC had to claw its way to the position it wanted, making several deals during the 80s and early 90s with said other companies to push their membership system. In comes Davidson and Associates. Though their tale is connected to Blizzard Entertainment, I'm not here to flay open that festering corpse, though I gladly would if given the chance, but seeing as I want to stay on topic, Davidson was mostly an edutainment company. Ever heard of Math Blaster? Davidson was the development team behind it, and a perfect candidate for venturing into the entertainment industry. Wanting to solidify their place as an internet giant, CUC, in one of their largest land grabs, bought both Davidson and Sierra Online, the studio behind King's Quest and who published NASCAR Racing 2, so that they could place advertisements for their services in any game that was developed by the two studios. Knowledge Adventure would suffer the same fate. Like with Davidson, Knowledge Adventure was an edutainment company, though one with ties to some big names, that being Nintendo. All the Mario games centered around educating the youngins? Knowledge Adventure. However, Knowledge's buyout from CUC came alongside a few mergers, the major one being between CUC and Hospitality Franchise Systems. HFS is an interesting company in its own right, seeing that it's a franchisor selling a local motel, real estate office, or car rental company the right to do business under one of its brand names with access to advertising, reservation agents, training, and computer databases. Since its founding founding in 1990, HFS has bought brands including Ramada Inn, Howard Johnson, Century 21, and Coldwell Banker. HFS has no interest in actually owning or operating these businesses. In fact, while HFS bought Avis last year, it plans to sell all of the cars and offices, keeping only the name and the reservation line. But both HFS and CUC had the same idea of raw selling. And now, with the two merged and having a major foothold in edutainment, merging Knowledge Adventure and Davidson together, the new company CDANT was on top of the world. Or it would be if Kirk and Walter didn't engage in fraud. From the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission today filed a civil enforcement action in the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey against Walter A. Forbes and E. Kirk Shelton, the top two former officers of CUC International Incorporated, alleging that they directed a massive financial fraud while selling millions of dollars worth of the company's common stock. For the period of 1995 to 1997 alone, pre-tax operating income reported to the public by CUC was inflated by an aggregate amount of over $500 million. The commission, among other relief, seeks disgorgement of their fraudulent stock gains with prejudgment interest, payment of civil money penalties, orders barring Forbes or Shelton from serving as an officer of a public company, and injunctions against violations of the federal securities laws. Yikes! As that brouhaha was going on, CDANT was bought by Havas and renamed Havas Interactive. It's around then that Knowledge developed Danger Zone. Before I go on to getting this monstrosity working, Knowledge would be passed through a couple companies, the two big ones being Vivendi and NetDragon Websoft, where they remain to this day, and their name was changed to Jumpstart Games. The developer also owns Neopets of all things, but I never owned one, and my only exposure to that franchise was The Dark Fairy, which is a tale for another time. Also, and this is going off my friend's words, and I trust them, the original version of Danger Zone had bundled in adware that was akin to Bonzi Buddy. One that put holes in your computer monitor that overlaid on top of everything if you didn't pay attention to it. The holes stayed there until you turned off your computer, by the way. Again, in my search for this information, I didn't find anything, but I believe what my friend says just because that is such an odd thing to include for an edutainment game. This was the early internet era, as on the game disc itself is AT&T Online. The version I'm using was scrubbed clean of the adware. Speaking of, getting this huge pile of crap working is a bit tricky, at least from my experience of using a pre-installed version. On the flash drive I have is the whole entire game with a few launchers, 2 for the game itself and 1 for QuickTime. To get it working, first mount the disk image, then from the separate Explorer window, install QuickTime. It won't work otherwise, and launching QuickTime without the disk mounted leads to an error. Then, with the disk still mounted, open up the Danger Zone application as the starting launcher won't work. When you're finished, unmount the disk image and uninstall QuickTime. And please, for the love of all that is holy, do this in a safe environment like a virtual machine or install it on a flash drive. Surprisingly, the game doesn't follow the story that the movie had. Instead, Jurassic Park has been buffeted by nature, causing its supply of dino DNA to run short. To fix this problem, as we can't let the dinosaurs go extinct again, though Malcolm and I would say otherwise, the JPI has sent 2 dino defenders to collect more of that sweet, sweet genetic code to breed more dinosaurs. And that's about it, really. Like Mario Party, story isn't much of a factor, and there's nothing really to discuss besides how the idea of the game goes against what the first 3 movies presented, but do you honestly expect this game to tackle that idea? This is a game for kiddlywinks, not a dissertation on war and peace, and if you want the game to be that, I don't know man, touch grass, it's a better idea. As I've said previously, this game doesn't run properly on modern hardware. That's because it uses QuickTime, a rather outdated version of QuickTime, that being 4. The good news is that it doesn't affect the gameplay. The bad news is that every cutscene in the game turns into a green screen. That sucks, but luckily there is someone on YouTube that has compiled most of the cutscenes, and when I first played the game at my buddy's apartment, the cutscenes were working, but I don't know what voodoo magic he performed, as he's more tech literate than I am, and I'm using the same same flash drive that he installed the blasted game on. So for most of you, including me, the game runs in a tiny 640 by 480 screen with cinematics that don't work. Not like you're missing much either, it's pretty basic CGI, and the only noteworthy things are how jarring it can be, as many of the dinosaurs in the minigames are animated in a stilted manner and that death cutscenes exist, a feature I wish more games had. Why do only licensed games have the market on this idea? Anyway, the real king of the presentation is the voice work, as the chief of the JPI is delightfully corny. Some of the words he says have such odd dictation, with the major example being Spinosaurus callbox.
Spinosaurus callbox. Spinosaurus callbox. Spinosaurus callbox. Spinosaurus callbox. Spinosaurus call. Click on anything you want to buy. Then click on the cash register to seal the deal. Spinosaurus callbox. Bug spray. ZapX bug zapper. Dino charge batteries. Rope. Truck tires. First aid kit. Bug spray. 50 points. Click on anything you want to buy. Then click on the cash register to seal the deal. Good idea. It'll be right up here when you need it. Missy Link, you are go to move.
The way he ushers that phrase into existence is so labored, as if he's speaking slowly and deliberately so that Rosie can hear. Other than that, sound is pretty stock, and in comparison to the story, there isn't much to talk about. Danger Zone is a board game with minigames thrown into the mix, just like Mario Party. Before the game begins, the player or players have to pick their mission name, which acts as a save file in case Danger Zone is interrupted. There are a good number of names, some which best describe what playing Danger Zone is like, and after picking one, the player is taken to the mode selection screen. This is where you choose how many human players, maximum 2, want to participate in pain. Danger Zone is always 2 players, so even if you're by yourself, the computer feels compelled to share the misery with you. Then, after picking your secret identity that comes along with narrator-specific jokes, there is a godforsaken Slim Shady reference in Danger Zone, and a personalized starting item, you're taken to the dinosaur selection screen. This determines what dinosaur you must shoot during the Operation Dart minigame, as well as what printout you get when you complete Danger Zone. With all that out of the way, the game can finally begin. The goal of Danger Zone is to acquire 4 squirts of DNA from your selected dinosaur and reach an entrance gate. To help the players, each are given 300 starting points for usage at the item shop, as well as the aforementioned personalized starting item. Like in Mario Party, there are 2 parts of Danger Zone, the board game and the minigames. Time spent in both sections is generally 50-50, but I'll start with the board half of the game. Players take turns rolling a 6-sided dice, determining what space they move to. Some spaces are blank, others are level hazards that stop players for 2 turns unless they have an item that will get them out of the jam, roll a 6 before the 2 turns are up, or pay 50 points, while some are minigame spaces. There's also a shop that the players can land on to buy items for usage in minigames or events. The last of the board spaces are what I will dub the card spaces. Landing on one forces the player to pick a random card. Said card will have an effect such as miss a turn, lose points in DNA, or steal an opponent's item or DNA. Transitioning to the minigames, there are 12 in total, though some are off-brand versions of other games like Simon Says, Word Association, Pong, or Match the Pair. The ones that are wholly unique to Danger Zone borrow elements from Dino Defender, such as T-Rex Extreme and Roadblock, or are quite simple in nature, as Operation Dart is just a shooting gallery.
Window. That white triangle shows what the T-Rex can see. You're that little red dot. Use the right arrow key to sneak past him and get the item. Use the left arrow key to get back. Keep the red dot out of that white triangle and you'll be okay. You can do this, Dino Defender, but you'll need split-second timing and nerves of steel. Rick Raptor, use the right arrow key to sneak past him and get the item. Use the left arrow key to get back. Good luck. We're counting on you. Click on the timer to... Look out! We have to get you to the first aid station, and fast. Try to relax. Our team of skilled doctors will have you back on your feet in no time.
Before each minigame begins, the players run down the controls and the goal of the game, though the tutorial can be skipped by mashing left mouse. Some minigames are cooperative, with both players suffering penalties, while others are single player. Failing a minigame usually sacks a player for points, puts them into the med bay, or both, such as the case with Bridge Out, which wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. Passing one, on the other hand, awards some points in an item that can be used in specific scenarios, such as bug spray for dealing with bugs, or the legendary Spinosaurus call box that scares off other dinos. If only those items were usable for raging raptors. There isn't going to be much said here. As mentioned previously, I do like the narrator. Besides a few of his lines, he serves as a nice contrast to what you are playing. I do like that he pulls a one more turn on you if you try to leave the game, saying that your mission isn't complete yet if you attempt to close the game.
Rick Raptor, time for action.
Video pair up, video pair up.
You need to find the matching fossils that are embedded in this cave wall. Click on a fossil, then click on its match. Drag them to the JPI crate and click again to place them inside. Finish the job in time and win 25 points. Click on the timer to begin. Looks like those batteries in your helmet light are just about dead. You'll have to do this in the dark. Outstanding work. Jurassic Park thanks you. You win 65 points. All eyes are on you. Your truck is sinking. Try not to move a muscle until your next turn, and you might not sink too quickly. Your turn, Rick Raptor. The helicopter lost control and scattered supplies across half the island. Use all 4 arrow keys to move the truck. Drive over the boxes to pick them up. You'll earn 5 points for each box. Keep one eye on the sky. There's a pteranodon flying overhead. You'll lose 5 points each time she bumps your truck. Click on the timer to begin. You didn't get all of them, but you got most of the supplies. Nice work. We'll transport these boxes to the first aid station. Thanks for the help. You win 25 points. Here's what you need to get out of that quicksand, Dino Defender. You make the call. Spin for 6. That's daring. Hang in there. You can try again shortly.
I also don't mind the CGI, as I like its aesthetic. There's nothing like early 2000s artifact-encrusted CGI. The best part about this game, however, is that you can play it with someone else. This is totally a backhand compliment, but just imagine if this was a one-player game. Raging Raptors is... well, I'll describe it to you like this. Whoever reacts wins unless Danger Zone says no. I've never played a game before where the main feature is being punished for playing properly. I'm not a fighting game guy, but I know that the bare minimum in fighting games is that you don't get got when you properly read your opponent. In Raging Raptors, the 2 players must face each other in combat, with the player who landed on the space to start the minigame wagering what the 2 players will be fighting for, that being points items, or DNA. Both players only have 4 moves at their disposal: a quick but weak tail whip, a middling bite attack, a powerful overhead lunge, and a dodge. What's supposed to happen is that you bait your opponent into doing an attack, then punish accordingly, but both times I played it with an opponent that wasn't myself, that being my friend in the AI, Raging Raptors devolves into something I can't even call a game. Every move has ending lag, which compounds with getting hit, but only half the time when the game feels like enforcing that. And when I mean every move, that includes the dodge. You can be hit after a successful dodge because of how much ending lag the moves have. You can properly mount an offensive after a dodge, or you can be hit. Trading attacks is a constant, and active hitboxes are so janky that dodging at times is guesswork. It's so hard to pinpoint exactly what I'm talking about, but if you play or have played it, you know what I mean. What doesn't help Raging Raptors any further is that it is a time sink of a minigame. There's no timer, fights only end when one raptor is left standing. Add in the fact that DNA will always be wagered when someone has some, expect games of Danger Zone to last a while. Or not. Game length is temperamental, ranging from 10 minutes to about an hour. This is probably the biggest issue for the entire game, its start and stop nature. Instead of a nice breakaway from the board game aspect, the minigames feel like time sinks, some far worse than others. And what you get for failing is so non-detrimental, as the game showers you in points that losing some doesn't even matter. Danger Zone is just spinning wheels until someone gets all their DNA and manages to land on an entranceway, with the game itself doing everything in its power to prevent that from happening. Those cards are the game's way of slowing you down, with the worst of them taking your DNA away. It got so bad during my first exposure to Danger Zone that I let my friend win just so that the game could end. I think it's obvious what my thoughts are for this game. Outside of subjecting your friends to it and any meme potential the game has, Danger Zone is not worth your time. Finding and getting it to run is a major hassle, and what you get are some pretty lackluster Mario Party minigames. Still, like the dinosaurs, this game is a relic from a bygone era, one that I am more than willing to share. The link below is my version of Danger Zone. Download the whole shebang and follow what I listed in history, and you should be good to go. Hopefully. And not a single Danger Zone reference at all. Talk about restraint. That's because I'm too busy making references only I and a select few people will get, like mentioning the fate of Kavzar. I wonder which faction I play, seeing as I don't like those damn dirty dwarfs. For real though, this event was at least 5 years in the making. The amount of digging that my friend had to do just to acquire this software was akin to Galahad's quest to find the Grail. All because of one conversation we had about, assumedly, bad video games. Oh, the places you'll go. And hey, a video I made is actually short for once. This showing of Jurassic Park 3 Danger Zone is over, but stay tuned for our next feature involving the Mafia, light mechanics, and a comic book as the source material.